What's going on, guys? This is Anders Larsson, and I'm gonna dive into a new plugin which is called Module in HumHub. And HumHub is a social media platform that you can run yourself. So my niche is digital marketing, and I don't recommend you to subscribe because this is gonna be purely coding, and these videos is not gonna be sent out to my subscribers. If you want to follow this journey that I'm taking, then go to the official HumHub community, and you find it here. And I have a thread here, and I hope that these videos are good enough to create, so we can create a wiki page. Without further ado, I want to dive into a new module. It is going to be based on the birthday module. If you installed HumHub, you can add more modules. Here we have a birthday widget that I'm gonna explore. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do everything in it, but we are definitely gonna learn something from it. So I use ChatGPT, and I have different chapters or stages, and I'm gonna start with stage 2. And this is basic module recognition. We can see that ChatGPT decided for me that the name of the module will be birthday. So let's create a folder named birthday. For a module, the minimum amount of files, I think, is 3. In order for a module to have basic functionality. The config.php is read automatically by HumHub, so I see it as a connection hub to connect all files. Module.php is the module class, and module.json is where you add the metadata for the module or for the plugin. It's the same with WordPress plugins. You also use metadata for it to display information. Sometimes ChatGPT is doing things wrong, and it's very educational to try to fix what is wrong and what HumHub is capable of, how forgiving it is. So we can see here that normally you create an event class or an event file, but this one will connect to the module. So I want to know if this actually works. So if something is wrong, then we will not see the module pop up here. So let's refresh and see. All right. So the problem is mountain duck. Sometimes it decides to pause. And mountain duck is a FTP drive, so I can use Explorer folders, but it is connected to FTP. So here I need to resume sync. So now it says in sync. Let's refresh, and now it works. So this was stage 2, and I'm going to continue with stage 3. We're going to create a simple widget, a widget class responsible for rendering the widget on the dashboard. I create a folder named widgets. Then I create a file named birthday sidebar widget.php. So this widget will render a view called birthday panel. In another widget that I did, we can see that it doesn't need to render a view. You can simply return the data or information or text directly. If I'm not mistaken, a widget automatically look for the view file as long as it is in the same folder as the widgets. That means that we create a folder named views with a file named birthday panel. And a view is a simple HTML file with a little bit of PHP in the beginning. But here ChatGPT decides to send echoes instead. An echo is basically printing out the information. The birthday sidebar widget is not connected yet, so we need to connect it. We add our birthday sidebar widget as well as adding support code in the module platform for the sidebar widget. If user is a guest, meaning not a member, it will not run this. The onSidebar init is an event. The event object knows how to add the widget. We connect our birthday sidebar widget class. Alright, the moment of truth. When something goes wrong, the module vanishes and sometimes it throws an error. I guess I put 2 variables. So let's remove this one. I'm only human. I make mistakes. Shall we look at the widget? It says cron job. I really don't know how to fix this. Here we have upcoming birthdays, and this information is taken from birthday panel view. For me, coding or learning to code a plugin or a module for a new platform is easier if I just dive in and read the code, trying to understand it. I do small steps, try to figure out how everything is connected. Before ChatGPT, I usually went out and I was Googling different communities to see how to solve different source code. But when a platform is not that big, it is difficult to find source code, and documentation for me is usually a bit more difficult to understand. I have a question to you guys. Do you use ChatGPT to learn coding, or do you go through documentation and learn from there? I think both ways are okay. Now guys, stage 4, database interaction. Okay, so we need to edit birthday sidebar widget. So I think this will look for 30 days in the future. When the widget is running, it will call this function fetch upcoming birthdays. So I learned that YII is for database handling. This is for handling date, of course. Then we have something called models user. I think this allows us to use this code, not sure. Let's try this. If everything goes to hell, then this will vanish. Okay, it says invalid database configuration. So in profile, in the database, birthday all are null. So I guess it added this line to check that it is not null, but we already have this. Wait a minute, select everything from user. Okay, so now it works, and all it needed was this line. I would like to try to add a birthday. So let's add on the 30th and then save. Then we make sure that the sidebar widget is loading. We should see something in the error log, or so I thought. So let's try this. Okay, so I got this date, but I'm a little bit tired. So the date must be in the past, and I don't remember if I saved. So if I click dashboard, then go to the error log, I can see that we have a birthday. Also, if I would watch this video and see this much code, then I would get overwhelmed. And I would like to know someone explaining what the code does in a very clear and down-to-earth manner. So I will try to do this, but I also know that people are impatient, so you can skip ahead to the next chapter. I will add chapters in the description, and this chapter was about database handling. But to my understanding, the reason why you use classes, date time and date interval is because you want to make it logically when you reason with what you want to do with the date. So for example, you want logically to know that birthday this year, if it is less than today, then we want to skip ahead to the next year. So you see how we use the logical operators similar to how we use logic to see if a number is bigger or equals with another number that we compare with, or if it is less than something we compare with. So today is of course this day, and end period is that we are taking 30 days and add the number of days. So this involves, we could actually just put today here, I think, but new date time, so it is today, and we add a new date interval. Okay, so P stands for period, and it should be the starting date. D stands for days, and this days ahead, that was 30. So 30 days. So datetime add require a date interval object. So this function require a period unit. It can be days, it can be month, it can be years. And if we don't, then it could throw an error, or it could set everything to 0. So this one is required. We output today and end period, and that would be today, and then 30 days ahead would mean February the 27th. Here we do a database query to return users with upcoming birthdays. And this object is YII, the YII class. So when we check the information in this object, we only get a very shallow look into what the object contains. In order to look more deeply, we need to use the serialize function. So this is not a class object, it's a function, and it will open up so that we can see more information. We can, for example, see the email used. Don't try to email me because I will not go in and monitor this email, so just don't. So we can see the creation time of the account, and created by, I'm not sure about that, created by Mr. N. Right. But there are no birthday properties, so I'm not sure. But it gives a little bit more information of what it contains. And that is cool, I think. Anyway, it will loop through every YII user object. So a new date time, and we want to figure out birthday this year. So datetime date year is the current year. And then we add a minus character. And then we figure out the date of the current user when the birthday occur. That is month and day. So we want to convert this string into a time object. In order for the date function to work, we need to do that. And when we've done that, we get it in the format of month minus day. So it will be year minus month minus day. So let's check this log to see if this is correct. I think it is. 2025 minus January minus the 30th, or how you say it. If the time zone is America, New York, I don't know, because I've seen if there is an American date, then the month and days are swapped. I don't actually know how that works. So it's about standardization, ISO 8601 format, which means that they have year, month, and day in that format. So they have standardized it So in the US, dates are conventionally written as month, days, years, and this differs from the standard format. I know that a lot of you are geeks, but is this nerdy enough for you? I'm just kidding, guys. Anyway, let's continue with this. So we want the birthday this year to be less than today in order for this check to qualify. This means that we repurpose or reset this variable to move 1 year ahead. So if we don't do it, then this will not work. So this would mean that there is no birthday this year because it has already occurred. But we want to look ahead. If it is greater or equals with than today, and birthday this year is less than equals of end period. So the end period is the frame that spans 30 days forward. So today and 30 days forward. And this if clause qualifies that it should include the birthday in this birthday widget. I asked ChatGPT if there is a way to get the clean SQL format or the SQL query from this for debugging purposes, because I know many of you guys actually would need it. So it should be something like this. We use a function called named create command, and from the create command we ask to see the raw SQL. So let's see if this works. Refresh. So we need to remove the all method because it returns an array, and we need to apply this on query. So now it worked. Refresh. So let's break this down. There are two tables involved, user table and a profile. The profile is where we get the birthday. The user is to qualify the user and get information from what user has the birthday. So the command select. You can ask which columns do you want to retrieve from the database, and we want to select them. User.star means that on the user table we get all the users, or we select all the users, and because we use two tables, we want to be very clear with what table we want to work on. So this is why we use user.star instead of star alone. Star alone. I know that we programmers are usually very lonely, but this is because we want to be left alone to learn how to code HumHub. Don't you agree? Just joking. So join is used to combine rows from two or more tables. So we join the user table and the profile table. Left join means that the query will include all records from the user table. So left join is the table left of the join command. And the on clause specifies the condition for the join. So user table joined with the profile table, but it needs to check that the ID from the user table matches the user ID from the profile table. And if it matches, then it will do further qualification. And the further qualification is checking if the profile birthday is not empty and profile birthday is not null. So in this case we wanted records in the left table, which means the user table, and we would use inner join if we want to return data from both tables. So you would use inner join to qualify that a user have a profile. Left join profile information would be filled with nulls. So let's check this and see what it returns. I'm using PHP my admin, and this is to do database work. This is a server tool that you receive if you use cPanel, and most web hosts use cPanel, and this is what I received. So this was stage 4, database handling, and now we will try to display birthdays. So ChatGPT decided to do a big change and send the YII object to the view. I think it will assign this object to this variable, and then this variable would then be accessed in the view file. So this was the previous birthday sidebar widget content, and we can see that a date interval, date time. Wait, was this also removed? That's strange. But it uses it here. Do you see how it? This was not added when we did the old file, so this is why it doesn't. Why it isn't required. Details, 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 guys. It is important to notice them so that you can prevent errors when you work with code that is very dependent on the framework. Okay, so it mixes PHP, and when you mix PHP with HTML and you want to give HTML priority instead of just echoing out the output, then you can use PHP end for each, so you can represent it as a loop. But I wonder, there are missing if clauses, isn't it? Something that we need. So views directory birthday list.php. So it says within the views directory of your birthday module, but this could be interpreted as you create a views directory inside the birthday folder, but because this is in the widgets file, and we know that views are used in the widgets, so we have widgets and views. So here's a module, widgets, and then views. It should go in here, I think, because this is one of the exceptions when connecting files, that when you have a views file, a views folder in widgets, then it will automatically know how to connect the views. So what file is viewed, or what file is used in the view, is determined by the render function. So here we can see that it wants to render this file, and now it will want to render birthday list. Step 3, it wants to register the widget on the dashboard, but I think we are already doing this. Dashboard init, event sender, add widget, birthday sidebar widget class 200. So module. So this is already done. Right, moment of truth, guys. So it could be either that this is on hold or pause, no, or it wasn't complete. So let's try again. So it's probably missing a namespace. Okay, guys, I think I know what is wrong. When you are really, really tired, most basic things can go wrong. And it's really hard to track this because Ultra Edit color the code. So you have, so you can see that it detects PHP because the file is .php. So you wouldn't suspect anything. And when you use ChatGPT, it can miss or ignore the most basic things, which is this PHP tag. So let's refresh, and now it works. So now we have system administrator, and it's not my birthday, guys. I'm just testing. So now it works, guys. Okay, so let's do stage 6, enhance birthday list. Stage 6 involves not only the upcoming birthdays, but also how many days are left until each birthday and how old the person will become. So we will do this in birthday sidebar widget in the run method. So the birthday module has widgets, and the birthday sidebar widget class works with the logic, and the views work with display. And you can see here that we have the full path in the old birthday sidebar widget code, and by adding the use YII base widget, we don't need to add it here. We get the current date. If I'm not wrong, this is the same select or query. So let's remove this. We are going to build an array, and then we do work on each user. Then remember we talked about the standard. So that would be the datetime ISO 8601 year, month, and day. Year, month, day. So I guess you could also get the year like this. Then we have a new liner. So clone makes sure that the values in this variable is not referenced, but it is a new fresh copy. It's a new fresh copy of this variable or object. But I can't see why they use clone really. But I would guess that if they use modify when they teach the AI, it is very common to use clone because you modify the object unless it is about the execution order. So according to ChatGPT, this is run before this is returned. So if it is not greater than today, it will return this one. Otherwise, it will return this year, the birthday this year. So I think clone isn't really necessary, but I could be wrong. So if I understand this correctly, we are making sure that we can make a diff on the next birthday. So it is always greater than today. So we are calculating the difference. So this is at the date when the person was born. So let's say it was 1980, and the next birthday is 2025. It would get the difference between 1980 and 2025. And this is how it calculates the age. And in days is this day is between this day and the next birthday, and return the number of days. So this is how it builds the list of the birthdays that we will present in the panel. Alright, so render birthday list, and this is a view file. Set users with upcoming birthday, set this variable with the array of upcoming birthdays. So there will be a name change of the variable upcoming birthdays. This means that we have to change the view file. So we can compare the old code with the new code, and we can see it is very similar, but the difference is that, well, we use a new variable, birthday, upcoming birthdays, and users with upcoming birthdays was the old. And this is, understand it correctly, there are an array spanning 1 year of YII objects. So this was the array that we built. Maybe it is not YII object, it's just an array with these items. User, days until, and age. So we are then assigning this array for later use in birthday list. And this is how it is assigned. It is running a for each. And each item is these properties. Or maybe it is a name value pair. And I guess we can use the formatter so that it can be handled differently depending on what country it is used for. So I think we are ready to run this baby. It will either be a disaster or it will be amazing. So let's refresh. Yeah, this is pretty cool. What do you think? So that was stage 6. I don't know if I should display all the stages, but I will try to make it anyway as quick as possible. So I guess we will try to modify the CSS style sheets. I'm actually pretty shocked that ChatGPT is giving me good code and not too much errors or bugs. But this looks suspicious. Path to cake icon today. So I think we can replace this so we don't have to use images. We use Unicode icons. And if I copy this directly, then it will translate this wrong. We can see that it translates this to HTML entities. So let's try this. So we can see that ChatGPT did something wrong. It used the older code that was users with upcoming birthday. So it forgot to change it to an array of name value pairs. So I asked ChatGPT to use the latest code, and hopefully this will fix the problem. Yes, great. It doesn't look super nice, but something happened. A little bit change. So that was step 7, styling the widget, and now we will use stage 8, configuration options. So we can change the configuration on the backend in the admin area and include and exclude certain user groups. So I think I can recall when we did the breaking news widget module, we used form logic in the admin menu, and that logic required a model. The model will hold form data and provide rules for validation. And this also involves a new view that we will create. We'll create birthday setting form under models. We have rules and attribute labels. I'm not sure about this. Whenever we create new files, we need to be aware of, is it connected? So I added these to the Module.php file. To think of this as an array in the database called birthday. So we get the birthday array from the settings class, but in reality it is rows that has birthday in them. So birthday in one column and days ahead in another column, and then birthday in the next row, and exclude groups in the next column, if you know what I mean. So when the module is enabled, we will set these rows, days ahead, 14 days, exclude groups is empty when it is enabled. Right, so this will be a controller, wouldn't it? Right, so a folder name config. Wait a minute, it should look like this. Views config index. So views config index.php. Right, so here we will work with groups. But I'm not sure about this. If we don't use a controller, wouldn't this logic be inserted in the controller, and then we have the view for the HTML data or output? I would actually be very surprised if this works, because it feels like it doesn't follow the pattern. Something I worry about is if we should access the view, then wouldn't we need a controller for that? Right, widget logic. Alright, so when we enable the module, it will set information in the database, and this will run first. but this also means that we need to disable the module. So that could cause a problem, because when I disable a module, sometimes it is stuck and I have to wait for a couple of minutes, or I have to wait indefinitely. So this is a widget. Expect this code is not actually used, and it's used in a later step. Let's see if this will work. So refresh, still working, so that is nice. Now we go to administration and modules, and we can see that HumHub modules birthday URL not found. So this needs to be inserted into Module.php. So let's add it here and refresh, and now it works. So I know this is a little bit scary, well, at least for me, because sometimes when things goes wrong, it can go very wrong. So let's try this instead, and I suspect we can use it like this, if I'm not wrong. Refresh. Maybe I forgot this one. Yes, I did. And refresh. Yes, now it works. So it is always good to test the things you think that you understand, so that you feel more comfortable understanding it. Did you notice this button, configure? That wasn't there before. And how does it work? Okay, page not found. So we don't have the controller to handle the view, if I understand it correctly. So let's try to disable it. Are you sure? Yes. Deactivation in progress. This process may take a moment. So I will take a pause, and you will not have to wait for the pause. It will start immediately. And I'm back. I tried to enable it, and it says UI not found. ChatGPT says that we need UI, so let's use this, and that would be here for this function. So I don't know what would happen now if it has already triggered the enable, or does it wait, or, does it skip the enable if it catches an error? But let's go back. So this is, as I suspected, it already triggered. So let's disable. I guess I have to take a pause again. Jesus. All right, let's try it. I have waited long enough. And refresh and enable. Shit. So guys, I don't know how to fix this other than to rename the module, but I guess I can wait tomorrow, and hopefully it works in the morning. But it's not fun. If anyone know how to fix this, I would be very happy. I would appreciate it very much. Alright, so I guess after a day, and now this is a new day, and I was able to not exactly enable it, but I got to the next warning. So is it that it only needs JSON encode? So let's try this. Refresh, continue, and okay, so now it works. It should be under settings, right? So we have exclude groups and days ahead. So then we know that it has inserted the right information. So then I need to use a JSON decode. Stage 8, guys. And let's continue on with stage 9. We are almost complete. Almost finished. If you thought that this video was long, then imagine making this video. It has spanned several days for me. You know how we talked about creating a view without a controller? So this was naturally something we needed. So I wonder how it works with connecting when the view is not under controllers. So we create a new folder, name controllers. In that folder we create a text file named config controller.php. So this is config controller, and we need this code. So let's see here. Models config form birthday models birthday setting form. When you suspect that ChatGPT is out of sync, because here it is config form when it is setting form in the old code, then it is always good to remind ChatGPT what code we have. This is why I have this batch file, dump all files. So before ChatGPT, creating batch file was a little bit difficult, at least for me. But this entire code was generated by ChatGPT. I just asked ChatGPT to create it, to dump all files and folders, and I had to add a pause at the end so that this window didn't immediately close everything. But basically I can just copy everything, Control C, then end. So I tell ChatGPT that I'm not sure that ChatGPT knows what code it have suggested. So then I enter the code from the batch file. By the way, this is why I use Mountain Duck, so that I have Windows Explorer FTP drive. So this allows me to run batch files to do the same work as I would naturally with a Windows folder. I mean, it's pretty powerful. Okay, again, we create controllers, config controller, and now we have models birthday setting form. And before ChatGPT suggested config form, this is why I felt like it's not in sync. Alright, so this uses the birthday setting form model, and the birthday setting form model knows how to handle, well, I was about to say the view, but I don't understand how this connects to the view. We created a config index.php, so it's supposed to redirect to index, I think this file. So maybe it's not finished. Let's see here. Birthday setting form, so we will modify it. And here is the JSON decode, because we used JSON encode to add to the database. So we need the JSON decode to convert it back into an array. But I'm a bit unsure how it will connect to the view still. Okay, so this says refine the view. That is index.php. Alright, so we have an array helper. So this one retrieves all records from the group table in the database. Array or object to be processed. Okay, so we are working with keys and names. So it works with multiple controls. It populates the options. So that seems to me that it doesn't handle anything more than populating the necessary information in order to produce a checkbox list when it calls this member. So this is a code representation of array helper map, and then this code, how much code does this generate? How much does it help? So it generates the form as well. Okay, this specific line does not generate the form tags themselves. It only generates the input fields. Okay, so that's interesting. Anyway, we created a config controller. We modified the index.php. And then we created a birthday setting form model that is supposed to work with index.php, but I don't know how it is connected. But let's try this. Let's refresh. Right. And then we click configure. Huh? It works. So I'm asking this question. How does birthday setting form, which is a birthday setting form model, know how to connect to both the views config index.php. So isn't direct but facilitated through a controller. So here it is not connected to the controller, but maybe the controller is connecting to birthday setting form. So this is connected to birthday setting form. So is the controller also connecting the view? Because this is under views config index.php. So how does config controller know how to connect to this view? So the question is, the framework automatically resolves view files based on controller structure and the naming convention you follow when organizing your files. So directory structure adhere to conventional pattern that facilitates the framework's auto-loading and routing mechanism. Module or application root, also base directory. Controllers determine which view to display. Then views directory within application or module. YII expects this folder to exist at the root, not within the controllers or models folder. Each controller generally have a corresponding subdirectory within the views folder, where its views are stored. The connection between controller and its view is determined by the path you specify when calling this render. Okay, so that is very interesting. So YII understands if I create a folder named views in the application folder or base folder or root folder, then it has a way to render it. But this says render index. And this is, well, we have views and then we have config. So how does it know that index reside in the config folder inside the views folder? So the structure of within a views folder generally mirrors the controller's organizational structure. Here how it works. So wait, does that mean that the controller should be inside a config? No. Okay, so the config controller, the default controller ID is config. If I name the controller to configuration controller, then would the default controller ID be configuration? Jesus. So if I name the controller to configuration controller, so the key is this, configuration. Default controller ID would be configuration. And the same with views needs to be resided in a configuration folder. So I learned something that if you use an uppercase, when for example you use a namespace, so namespace can't handle minus characters. So you do something special with uppercase in the file name or class name. So let's see what ChatGPT says. So yes, you're on the right track about controller ID being derived from the name of the controller class in YI2 minus the controller suffix. For hello config controller, the controller ID would be hello config, not hello minus config. So hyphens is something that I forgot, a word that I forget to use. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT says. Okay, so this was actually what I suspected. The hyphens are for URLs and route definitions. So if the directory includes hyphens, like views hello config, then you would indeed use hello minus config index or hyphen, hello hyphen config. Alright, so I think I understand. Basically, the thing that is before the controller relates to views this name. So anyway, I only want it for administrators and I want it to be 15 days. So let's get some errors or warnings, because this is what usually happens. Save. So it saved 15 modules, configure 15, but it didn't save users. Okay, so this is a controller, and the model, ChatGPT said that the model was for business logic. Save settings. So that let's error log this, and let's try this. Users, save, and refresh. 2. Okay, so this code generate these controls with value 1 and value 2, and we could see that it saved 2, but it is missing. So basically we need to add this attribute to make it work. But maybe that is done in the next step. So we did stage 9 and we will do stage 10. I will add the current code so that ChatGPT knows what I have. So there's some translation support, code cleanup, enhanced security. Don't know if I want to do this, but so multilingual support. I've seen this. So this was the original, but I think I removed the translation because the module was too big. But if we check gallery, we have messages, and if we take SV, which is Sweden or Svenska, and open it, well, I'm not sure about this. I have the zip file, for example, and we can check it here. So this is a folder that was missing that I removed and don't remember where I put it. But here we have base. Okay, so basically it's translating from English to Swedish. Okay, so here we have base path, birthday, the module name, and messages. So you remember that we have the folder named messages and then a bunch of abbreviations of languages. So that would go within my module, and this is the module. Let's check the Module.php on the original birthday module to see if messages is used, and it is not. So in HumHub, generally in YII2 applications, the message folder structure and its content are directly tied to how translations are managed and utilized within the module. So language code, this was the abbreviation I talked about, and that is standard for language identification in web applications. Connecting the translations to the module, so it's in the config. So if we check the config of the original module, guess what? It's not there, and it is not in the module class. So I was searching for the term translation, and it was only found in the base files. It was not found in the original module itself. So ChatGPT suspects that this is built in the III2, and it automatically handles the translation integration. So this is what I suspect. So let's take care of the checkbox list so that it automatically uses checked. So it's the model and models init. So it's exactly the same. So let's try this in the init. Do I retrieve the last stored data, which is 2? So I did a refresh, and let's refresh here. Init says 2. In save settings, which is this one, it should look like this, and it does. Let's check if this is correct, and that is correct. So this is basically, this is what ChatGPT wrote, and it's basically this, but without this. But let's try it anyway, and it doesn't set this. Okay, let's try this. It needs to be an int, which is integers. So that says it is a string. Okay, so let's try this code. It says array map intval, and let's refresh and see if it works. I was so sure it would work, but it doesn't. Did you know that you could insert a function in this line? Similar to how you can insert a function in JavaScript. So instead of calling a function with a function name, you can just insert the entire function without a function name. And this is how this is done. So before it had this, and we inserted this. So group list is model exclude groups. And then we basically use square brackets and each item called this function. But anyway, let's try this code. For me, this is very complicated to read. Right, so refresh. Class array helper not found. So let's add them, the missing use. So we have HTML, we have active form, not array helper, and we have this. And let's refresh. Undefined variable model. Alright, so now it is checked. An error log says a bunch of things. So ensure the exclude groups is an associative array. Keys must match the checkbox values. Models init method. So let's go back to this code that we had before. And this is the init function before. And this is the init function now. So it is a little bit different now. Okay, so I have this old code that I want it to work. And we have this new init. And then we reload. Alright, so this needs to be included. And it is included. And let's refresh. Also array helper. So let's try this. So the init, I think when we run the init, it has the wrong format in the database. So this is why it doesn't work. So if we click this and make sure it has the right format, click save, it doesn't work. So let's see here, save settings. So filter and encode only checked group IDs. If you guys, if some of you are still here, I'm actually very shocked because I suspect that I'm the only one now. Right, save. Alright, so let's try to fix this. Birthday setting form init. So here it is missing the days ahead. So basically what it does is creating a loop. So now it tells me, yes, that's correct. The line is not automatically restoring the checked status. So let's do this and be done with it. So this had a problem, and I asked ChatGPT if it could generate a simple for each, so it's easy to debug. So this apparently already was a text string, so it needed to be an array. So we can see here in the database that we have a problem, exclude groups, 0, and I suspect that this is not how you do it. It uses array keys. This was suggested by ChatGPT. So when it doesn't work, then you go back and let's click users and save. Ooh, it works. So let's try the inline function and refresh. And that worked as well. And it looks nicer. But anyway, guys, I had enough of this module. I have been at it for a couple of hours now, more than 5 hours. So the original module, or birthday module, used a simple text field for this. But guys, I learned so much. And the things that I don't have much control over, or am confused about, it sits in the brain like small pattern or fragments, and it completes itself the more I learn, the more I work with modules. So I start to recognize patterns, and after a while it's pretty easy to see why it doesn't work and what needs to be fixed. The thing that was the biggest aha moment for me was how everything before controller becomes like an ID for how we should name the default folders in the view. So because it had a name config controller, YII expects the views to have a config folder just because it started with config and then controller. And that I had no idea about. And we need to remember this. I need to remember this so that I better understand in the future. And right now I'm starting to get hungry as crazy. I have been at it for too long. So guys, see you in my next video. Take care, and don't forget to click like and subscribe if you learned something. But by the way, don't subscribe because this channel is a digital marketing channel, and this is just a temporary thing with the coding. So if you click subscribe, well, of course you don't miss my next videos with coding, but after a while you suddenly will have digital marketing videos, and you might not like it. Take care and see you in my next video. Bye bye.